Hello and welcome to Microsoft Hates Greg. My name is Greg Deckler, and we're going to be picking up where we left off last time. It's lunchtime here, so over my lunch break, I figured I would record this video. Part two of Fabric Lakehouse Hell, I guess you could say. So as you can see, I tried a lot of times to get. Let's recap. The idea, right? The idea is test direct lake functionality versus import mode. So direct lake versus import, with the speeds involved in that. In order to do that, I needed to have an import mode model and a direct lake model. And to get a direct lake model, I need to get data loaded into a lake house so that I can then create the semantic model for the lake house in direct lake mode. Seemingly simple enough. Well, not so much. So I created in the last video, you'll see that I created all my data in Power Query M, essentially. And so I then tried to reuse those same queries in a data flow Gen 2 to load it into my lakehouse with nothing but miserable failure. Even my last attempt here was massive lakehouse, please work, data flow, right? And I figured maybe if I could appeal to the Microsoft gods, and try to appease them that, maybe this stuff would actually work like it's supposed to, but it didn't. It just didn't. All right, so I basically I'm like, all right, fine, punted. All right, I'm like, okay, maybe what I need to do is just create a file, for my append table, which is the big table that was about half a billion rows, right? Maybe I just need a file, just a CSV file that I can then load up into the Lakehouse and go from there. So I reached out to Brian Julius, and he sent me a bunch of links. I looked on the internet for like different data generators and stuff. They're all pretty limited. Nowhere near half a billion rows really. Even Mockaroo would have to pay like $8,000 or something to be able to pull that off. So I reached out to Brian Julius, and he gave me a bunch of links to different stuff. And I took a look at all of those different data sets, and some of them would have worked, I think. But after like having Fabric essentially waste my entire weekend, right? I needed to come up with a way to convey my utter contempt, disrespect, and frustration with the platform, if you will. So I turned to a 40-year-old technology to do something that apparently Fabric with Dataflow Gen 2 and a Lakehouse are incapable of doing. Any guesses as to that 40-year-old technology? I'll count down, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here it is, Perl. So I turned to my old friend Perl, which I haven't programmed in probably 2 decades. Yeah, so Perl. Let me get these up here. My little command prompt here, and this guy too. Why not? Oh no, I don't want that one. I want my actual Perl file here. So yes, so from downloading Perl to installing it to relearning how to code Perl and then generating my file, which took all of, and I decided, let's go big or go home. We're gonna do 5 billion rows, okay? Right? Not half a billion, right? That's not even enterprise grade, really. I mean, I've got retail customers that easily generate a billion transaction lines, per quarter, right? Or even some of them per month. So I mean, if this thing can't even load up, 1 year's worth of data, for a mid-sized retailer, right? I mean, what good is it, right? That was my thinking, right? So this isn't the one that actually. So I'll get into this, but the code was something like this in Perl, right? It's pretty simple, just a couple for loops and loop through it, and there you go. Now, and then this took all of about 15 minutes to run, and the file that it generated was 108 gigs. So, and Perl is 37 years old technically, okay, not 40. But it would actually run on that PC that I'm going to post in the thumbnail for this video. It would actually run on that, and probably it might take it a little bit longer, like 45 minutes or so, but it would still run and generate the file, except for the file size, right? The hard drives back then were like 20 megabyte Seagate hard drives, right? Right. And yes, you heard me correctly. If you're, younger, much younger than I am, 20 megs back in the early 90s, late 80s was a normal size for a hard drive. And yes, it still ran Windows at the time. Anyway, I digress. So I used Perl to generate my CSV file, right? And 100 gigs worth of it. And it generated in 15 minutes, right? Something that data flows in Lakehouse couldn't achieve at all. Not in 15 minutes, not in an hour. I spent hours and hours on this. And it was faster for me to relearn Perl to generate the data than to try to do it in Fabric. That's how sad this platform is. Okay, but okay, now I can use what a lakehouse is really good at, right? And not trying to get data flows out of the picture. Right now, I can just upload a file to a lakehouse, right? It's simple, right? Easy. Exactly what lake houses are meant for, with their day lake. Load up your unstructured data, your huge unstructured data in raw format, and away you go, right? Just wait. So let's upload the file. And I hate how the cursor doesn't change. Does anybody else get annoyed by that? Like the cursor doesn't change when I have to be a pointer or something. I find that immensely frustrating with Power BI and Fabric. I've noticed it more and more. So let's come over here. Da, 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 da. There's my CSV file. They open, they overwrite, and I say upload. Nope, not even gonna try. Oh, 5 billion rows. Holy smokes, that's way too much for me. It doesn't even try it. Unknown server error. Unknown server error details. You can't make up this comedy, man. So even though all I'm trying to do is upload a CSV file, and it's only got three columns in it, man, and it's only 100 gigs, right? It's nothing in today's world. It doesn't even want to attempt it. Fabric Lakehouse can't handle it. Can't hack it. Can't have Perl can generate this file in 15 minutes. Fabric doesn't even want to try to upload it. That's terribly sad, right? So what I had to do, I had to back off, right? And I was able to load this file. Let me show you guys. So no, that's the wrong. And I'll get to that. And don't reveal. Don't do the reveal, Greg. Let's take it back. Close that. I don't reveal that yet. That's for next video. All right. So that's the wrong one. I want supermassive. Not that one. That's the wrong one, Greg. Hang on, I'll get it in a second. This is the one. All right, so I was actually able to load this up in Power BI. Now it took probably 8 hours to load this from the CSV file. But if you notice, there's my 5 billion rows sitting in Power BI desktop semantic model. But Fabric doesn't even so I can generate it in Perl. I can load it in Power BI desktop on a freaking laptop, right? But Lakehouse, no, I'm not even going to try to do it, right? How sad is that? So I had to punt yet again, and I go back to my somewhat massive. So I still generated it in Perl, right? So this is my append1.txt, right? Which is only 13 gigs, right? So this is then I had to create. So I created a somewhat massive semantic model based on that, with about 600 million rows in it. Again, about 500 million rows. And I was able to load that up into my lakehouse. Finally, it actually worked, right? So there it is, sitting there. All right. Now the interesting thing in this, and the trials and tribulations aren't over this, but what I'm gonna do is I'll probably record it right after this. I was able to get this all to work. Okay, I was able to, somewhat, sort of. I was able to actually do some performance testing between a direct lake semantic model and an import semantic model. And so the next video is going to be all about, was it worth it, right? It damn well better be, because I've spent hours on this stuff. But the interesting thing, I finally got this thing loaded up there, and I had called it append1.txt because I didn't want to lose my 5 billion row CSV file. And so I'm like, okay, now I can just convert this into table. And I can't load this. I'm like, what? So on a whim, I'm like, well, what if I rename this to just CSV? Rename. And then I get to load the tables. I swear to God, I could probably upload a virus to this thing, name it a CSV, and it would try to load the damn thing into the lake house. I mean, how crazy is that? So anyway, I was finally able to create a new table on this, and you can see I've got my stuff in my layout. These other ones came from actual like a data flow that I used to, so I used the M code to generate these, and then this comes from loading the thing. But trust me, the trials and tribulations aren't over yet, and I'm going to record the next video and show you, how direct lake compares with import mode. Um, but I'm not going to release that until tomorrow. I'm gonna record it now. I'm gonna upload it. But I'm gonna set the schedule for tomorrow morning. So you're gonna have to wait until tomorrow morning for the big reveal on this this ridiculous journey that I've been on. All right, that's all I had. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.